There was no foreplay, Bob. We went right in. Not hello. How's everyone doing? No. Right into it. Right into it. Right into it. Incredibly detailed program. And obviously, they have a history of winning. When you look at it, when you add new players and you add this many new players from one place, they also know how to play off each other. They have a chemistry that normally you have to cultivate through your team and through years of practice, and so you get a head start. And then you're talking about really putting into place one of the greatest defenses in the history of college football. And they play with an edge. They play with a mentality, and Kirby does a phenomenal job.
Howie linebackers are the position of traditional like the Eagles have not spent on. What's your philosophy on paying linebackers, and more specifically Saquon?
Everything really is player dependent. When we talk about situations, it depends on the quality of play of the player, the person that we're talking about, and so you don't want to make any exceptions. Obviously, you have to have a vision of how you want your team to look. In the salary cap era, you have a certain number of resources that you can allocate, whether it's money or draft picks, and so whenever you do something, you're taking it from somewhere else. I mean, there's no way. At the stage we are with our team, that we can do something major without it coming from somewhere else. So we have to make all those decisions. But I think to kind of put us in a box and say, hey, we're not going to play, and I'm not saying that you're saying that we're not going to pay because historically we haven't done that. I mean, part of what we do is evolve and look at things and see how things are affecting our team, how things are affecting the league, and seeing our place in that. The existing. Yeah, I don't. What's the difference in the existing core? Well, I could talk about this team, not going back to 2017. We have a lot of guys who I think are in the prime of their careers under long-term contracts. Not saying that team didn't, who are kind of in this 26, 27, 28-year-old range. And so really we have to do whatever we can to make sure that we keep this window open for as long as possible. The most important season is this one coming up, 2025, and doing whatever we can to maximize that. But we have to get creative to make sure that we're keeping as many of our good players as we can. I sat up here last year and I said that's going to include playing young players. And I think that's going to be a huge part of what we are going forward because we're fortunate enough to have a lot of good players who are making a lot of money.
What the Eagles identify in Saquon coming out of the free agent that obviously the Saints weren't able to identify with him as a player or qualities in the season that he had?
Well, I don't really think that's fair to say about the Saints. Obviously we're playing in a different system. They did a great job, but they traded up in the draft to go select him in the third round. He was a player that everyone did a lot of work on coming out of Wisconsin. You knew what kind of tools he had in his body. You knew what intangibles he had, and he was looking for an opportunity to play. And we kind of when you bring in a new defense coordinator like we did with Vic, and looking at some of the guys that he had success with, and seeing some parallels there, and then you got to give a tremendous amount of credit to Zach and the work that he did, playing a new position for the first time in the NFL. Our coaching staff, making sure he was put in a great position to make plays, and obviously really proud of all those people. Yeah, I think obviously you got to find the happy medium towards making sure the players are fairly compensated and feeling good about it, and at the same time doing it early enough so you can try to save some cap room, because every time you save some cap room and then you compound it by signing another player, it gives you an opportunity to add other players. And I think it's really important for us to try to identify the guys that we want as quickly as possible and be confident in those evaluations. Not saying we're always going to be right. I think doing that allows you to start the proration a little bit early, which saves some cap room.
What's the difference between an organization that has found a franchise quarterback versus one that's still?
What's the difference?
The difference in the mood.
I can only speak about my mood right now, so I can't really speak about anyone else's mood. And I'm feeling like I'm back in Indy for the combine. So. No doubt. I mean, I think when you're talking about difference-making players at any position, I would put them in franchise-making mode. When you have guys who make a huge difference at whatever position they are, those guys are franchise-changing players for you. Yeah, do we not have him for a full offseason last year? Are you talking about last year? Or yeah, I mean, we're just talking about franchise players. I mean, Saquon's a franchise player at the running back position, and I think just a special player who can do over everything that you're looking for at the running back position. Obviously, unbelievable character, and so when you have guys like that, the opportunities to continue to expanding their role and the things that they can do. I know Nick and Kevin, our coaching staff, are talking about that all the time.
Even though Kellen was only there for 1 season, how much impact did he have?
Yeah, first, Kellen, unbelievable person. The Saints are getting incredibly smart, detailed, great person as their head coach, and just really fun to be around him and watch him work and the impact that he had on our football team.
Howie, whenever a big play is available, it feels like the reaction is, oh, well, Howie's going to go get it. Myles Garrett had requested a trade. A, do you anticipate going after Myles Garrett? But also, do you like the reputation that you're impressing the like
Yeah. How many years have you been doing this?
long enough to know I shouldn't ask, but
Yeah, I figured. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about anyone under contract with another team. I think that, um, you know, one thing that I can promise our fans is that there will not be a player that's available that we won't study, that we won't look at and see if it can help the team. Sometimes those opportunities work, and you're able to do that, and sometimes they don't. I'll come back. Yeah, I think you're always trying to find competitive advantages. That's something that we're always looking for. I think that you also have to look at the strengths of the class in free agency and the draft and see what the opportunities really are. You can't just make up opportunities, even if you want to be creative. But I think just to be consistent, we have a vision of how the team's going to look. What's really important for us to continue playing at a high level. And, I think it's my job every year to make sure that we have that as a starting point, as a base when we start the off season. And after that, it allows you to get creative. If you don't really have the pillars of your football team, if you don't have those, it doesn't matter how creative you are, it's going to be hard to win. Yeah, I think it's always important to talk to people who've had success in sports, in other industries, to see if there's creative ways that you can compete, that you can find ways to compete. And I think, I'm always trying to pick the brains of people smarter than I, which is a low bar. But yeah, I think you're always looking at other sports and how they're doing it and trying to find creative ways. And some of the things that we've done over the last 5 years or 10 years have come out of discussions with teams from other sports and seeing if we can find ways to some practical application of those.
what's the key to developing a offensive line?
I'll get you. Well, I think one, it's the players, it's the quality of the players, it's the talent level of the players, and then it's the intangible qualities of the players, and then it's having phenomenal teachers. And we've been fortunate with Coach Stoutland to have him in place for a long period of time. And from my perspective, I know that whoever we bring in, we're going to get the most out of their talent, and I think that's really like we have that with a lot of our position coaches and our assistant coaches, but obviously Stout's been doing it for a long time, and as we talk about the offensive line, there's no one better in the world at it. Yeah, never feel like we have enough O linemen or D linemen. Always on the lookout for those positions at every level, whether it's in free agency, whether it's in the draft, whether it's after the draft, whether it's on the street. Um, it's really like an unhealthy obsession, Zach. To be honest with you, and so I never feel good enough because I can convince myself. I can go back and watch a game from this year and see that we were down 3 offensive linemen, and then I'm going, well, now we need 8 starters, and so it's the same with the D line. I think that those are incredibly important positions, and you can never have enough of them. Morrow and Yeah, very, very impressed by what they showed in their play time. Obviously, didn't play a tremendous amount. They're young players who have really the tools in their body to be really good players, and expect to jump from both those guys. Hi, I'm doing good, thank you. How are you? It really doesn't. I think at the end of the day, we're not behind in terms of the evaluations of the free agents or the draft process. We're just probably getting to Indy a little bit quicker. We've kind of set up our meetings in the past few years so that we do a lot of them after the combine so we can get more information. So I think it's really no different than last offseason when we were coming off a disappointing year. We have a vision of what we want to accomplish here. That doesn't always work according to plan, so we have backup plans to that. And we'll go out and try to execute the best we can and make the best possible decisions that we can.
We've got time for 2 more. Speak a little bit to evaluating talent and staying close to your backyard and the relationship there. Obviously, Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I think that we're going to go wherever the players are, and when they're local and they're closer, obviously that makes it a little bit easier for us. But love having local guys and guys who play for schools that a lot of our area went to. But our job is very simple. We got to get the best possible players. We got to continue to bring in talent to the building, and whether they come from Australia or Penn State, we're going to try to find them. I'd say the only difference really is just how quickly it comes upon you. I think that when you have more time, when you lose early in the playoffs, or don't get to the playoffs, which hurts my stomach even thinking about. But I think that you have more time to kind of digest it and think about what's going on, and I think it just comes upon you a little bit quicker. So I think that's really it. Yeah, I know a lot of these guys for so long that I don't know that I get a different reaction whether we have a good year or a bad year. But obviously, it's nice to see people that you haven't seen all year, or you see someone before a game and it's like you're kind of wishing them good luck, but you really want to kick their ass, and so you'd be lying. You're kind of lying and faking, and it's like, I'll see you in the off season. So I think that's the fun part is getting together with some people that you haven't seen, and I look forward to that. I'll get Dave. I'll get these two. I'm sorry, Bob. I'm sorry? Surviving the parade and how I felt afterwards. I did survive the parade right here. And afterwards, I felt like we have an unbelievable fan base that we get millions of people to sit and cheer in 25-degree weather and root for our football team. The head's better. It's better. I'm a little less handsome than I was a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not sure I had a lot to go there anyway. So. Is that out? What's that? John just. Okay. Man, great player. That trade that we made, I was the personnel director at the time. The guy is just a freak of all freaks. They called him the franchise for a reason. You felt every Sunday going into a game that you had no worries no matter who the pass rusher was. Elite athlete. elite teammate, world champion. In my mind, no doubt, first ballot Hall of Famer. Just incredible career, and one of the many players that I don't think I'd be standing up here if it wasn't for the success of guys like that. So, just really thankful for Jason Peters.
All right, thanks, folks.